For today's video, we are back on Tier Maker. We are now on the number 8 overall draft picks. You guys know how this works. We're going to be ranking the picks since 2000 from categories of Hall of Fame talent, superstar, top line contributor, good, disappointing, flat out bust, and too soon to judge. We're going to do this all the way up until the number 10 overall picks and then eventually finish out the series with the number 1 overall pick. So we're kind of in the closing stretch. This has definitely been a really fun series. And like always, I will link this down below in the description so you guys can go make your own. You can take a picture of it, tweet at me, we can talk about it if you like. But now, without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it, starting off with Nikita Alexeyev. And he is definitely a flat out bust. Only played 4 NHL seasons, never really was able to find his game at the NHL level, played the majority of his pro career in the KHL, which, you know, happens with a lot of Russian players who don't really work out at the NHL level. So I'm definitely pretty confident in saying he is a flat out bust. Next up, we have Pascal Leclerc. And for him, I think I'm going to put him at disappointing because he had one really good season that came in the 2007-8 year. But other than that, wasn't really the greatest goaltender for the majority of his career. And when you take someone at the 8th overall pick, especially a goaltender, you expect them to pan out and be like a future starter. But his career didn't really go that way. Only played about 7 NHL seasons. So he's definitely not a flat out bust because I wouldn't put him in the same category as Alexeyev there. But I definitely think I can confidently say he was pretty disappointing. And now we have Pierre-Marc Bouchard, and this one was kind of difficult because he was pretty solid for the majority of his career. His career high was 63 points that came in the 07-08 season with the Minnesota Wild, and he's always a guy that you could count on to usually give you at least 40 plus points when he was in his prime. So I don't think I'm going to put him at a top line contributor. In his best season when he put up 63 points, he probably was, but for the most part, I would say he was just good. Definitely not disappointing, wouldn't call him like a superstar or top line contributor or anything, so I'm pretty confident in saying that he just had a pretty solid career, so I'm going to put him at the good category. I think Braden Coburn is also going to go in the good category. Never a defenseman who is going to wow you with putting up points. His career high in points was 36 points. That came in the 07-08 season, pretty early on in his career. He's still currently in the NHL and playing as a pretty solid, reliable defenseman, so he's definitely been pretty good for the majority of his career. Moving on now, we have Alexander Picard. And for him, I'm definitely going to put him as a flat out bust. He only played 5 NHL seasons, and the most games he played in any of those seasons was 23. So he really wasn't able to work out at an NHL level. And for a number 8 overall pick, that definitely isn't very good. And I'm going to put him at flat out bust. I believe he is still playing professional hockey overseas, so at least he's, you know, still making a living playing the game. But it really just didn't work out for him at the NHL level. So I'm pretty confident in saying I should put him at a flat out bust. And next up, we have Devin Setoguchi, and this one is kind of difficult because he was kind of a player who was kind of like a one-hit wonder. He had one really good season, 65 points as a sophomore, but then after that, he never put up more than 41 points, so I feel like I should put him at disappointing because, yes, for one season, he definitely was good, but other than that, he didn't really stay playing at that high level for a very long time, so I think I'm going to put him at disappointing. But then again, Pierre-Marc Bouchard didn't really play at that high level for a long amount of time either. This is kind of difficult. I'm going to put Setoguchi at disappointing for now, but when I am finished, I usually go back and revise it and see if I want to change anything up. So Devin Setoguchi is definitely a guy I might move around, but for right now, I think I'm going to put him at disappointing. And next up, we have Peter Mueller, and this is another pretty difficult one to gauge because he had a great rookie season, 54 points, but he kind of peaked there and was never really able to get back to that, and for the most part, it was due to injury. He had a lot of concussion problems, and every time he tried to make a return, it just wasn't really the same, and I don't really want to judge him just because of being injured. Should I judge him off his just one really good season where he was healthy in his rookie year? I don't know. I feel like I should put him at disappointing because, again, injuries are a part of the game, and yes, it isn't something that the player can control, but it still happens, and he still was probably pretty disappointing with that number 8 overall pick. Even though he had a great rookie season, it really just is a shame that he had a lot of concussion problems, but he is still another player who I believe is still playing professionally. So shout out to Peter Mueller. Hopefully his head is fine and those concussions didn't have a long-term effect on him. But at the NHL level, I think I am going to put him at disappointing. But he's another guy I could go back to and maybe change it up. And next up, we have Zach Hamill. Zach Hamill is 100% a flat-out bust. He played 3 NHL seasons, and the most games he played in one of those 3 years that he appeared in was 16. He's definitely a flat-out bust, and Boston probably looks back at that pick and really regrets it. So I'm pretty confident in saying he should be in the tier with the likes of Picard and Alexeyev. Moving on now, we have have Mikhail Bodker, and I feel like Bodker has been pretty solid for the majority of his career. He's still currently playing in the NHL. He's playing for the Ottawa Senators. His 51-point career high season came in the 2013-14 year with the Phoenix Coyotes, obviously now the Arizona Coyotes, and this is kind of tough. As we get, later in the picks, the players aren't the greatest, and you're going to have a lot of players that are just, kind of good, maybe teetering between disappointing and good, but again, how good do you really expect them to be with that number 8 overall pick? So I'm probably going to go back and change a lot of these after I revise it, but for right now, Mikhail Bodker, I'm going to put him in the good category. Next up, we have Scott Glennie. Now, I actually made a video on Scott Glennie over a year ago. I believe it's like one of the most viewed videos on my channel, like over 100,000 views, so you guys can go back and check that out if you have not seen it already. But he's definitely a flat out bust, and in that video I talked about one of the biggest reasons why, and apparently it was his work ethic, and he was just waiting for his skill to take over. He wasn't the greatest skater, obviously scored at a really high clip in junior, but was never really able to translate that to an NHL level or even an American Hockey League level. So he definitely had a pretty short-lived stint as an NHL player, and things really didn't work out for him. So again, go check out that video. I'm sure you can find it on my channel. It was definitely one of my more favorite videos I have made on the channel. Next up, we have Alexander Burmistrov, and I think I'm going to put him in disappointing. Didn't have a good NHL career by any means for a number 8 overall pick, but I don't think he's like a flat-out bust because he did have a couple 20-point seasons, played at least more than 4 years in the NHL, so I think he definitely should be a tier above these guys. But now when I look at it, I feel like it's kind of disrespectful to Peter Mueller and even maybe Devin Setoguchi to have them in this category with Burmistrov and obviously Pascal Leclerc. So I think I'm actually just going to put Setoguchi and Peter Mueller up there because they both did have 50-plus point seasons in the NHL. Even though Devin Setoguchi kind of fizzled out, he was good when he was on his game and when he was playing. Even though he didn't last long playing at that high clip at the NHL level, still good. So I'm probably going to make a lot of changes to this, but we're going to keep it like that for now. And we have our first top line contributor, and that is Sean Couturier. In my opinion, he is one of the most underrated players in the entire NHL. He had a 70-plus point season last year, and he is one of the best two-way centermen in the entire league. I definitely think he doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. Obviously not off to the greatest start so far this season, but I definitely think he will get going. I definitely hope he does because I just picked him up off the waiver wire in my fantasy league, so hopefully Couturier can get going and start putting up some points. He's definitely one of my favorite players because I kind of gravitate towards, some of the more underrated players, and I'm just a really big fan of his game, so definitely a top line contributor, and maybe you never know, if he continues to get that offensive game up a notch, maybe he'll be a superstar one day. But for right now, definitely think he's going to be a top line contributor. Next up, we have Derek Pouliot. I'm going to put him at disappointing because he is still in professional hockey. I believe he's playing in the American Hockey League this year. Had like a 20-point season for the Vancouver Canucks as a defenseman in the 2017-18 season. So not awful, but definitely disappointing with that number 8 overall pick. So since he is still in the NHL, or not in the NHL, but he does have an NHL contract, he is in the American Hockey League, I'm going to put him at disappointing and not down there as a flat-out bust. Next up, we have Rasmus Ristolainen, and Ristolainen, I'm going to put him at good. A lot of people might think he should be up there as a top-line contributor, but I think he is probably a little bit overrated. This year definitely does seem like he is focusing more on his two-way game and the defensive side of things, which is definitely a good sign, because last year he had a really good offensive season, but was abysmal as an actual shutdown defenseman, and that's kind of what they need him to be. You have guys like Rasmus Dahlin there to more so be the offensive guy, so hopefully he's trending in the right direction, but for right now, I'm going to put him at good. But by the end of the year, I really hope he can be up there as a top-line contributor, but I just really don't see it right now. Next up, we have William Nylander, and I'm going to put him up there with Couturier. I do think William Nylander is a top-line contributor. He had back-to-back 60-point seasons before having a bit of a letdown of a 2018-19 year, but a lot of factors played into that. Obviously, the contract holdout was the biggest thing, and once he actually did sign and came into play in the NHL, he just wasn't really, up to speed with everything else and with everyone else on the team. But he's definitely off to a pretty solid start, and I think Willie is definitely in for his third 60-plus point season of his career, and maybe even more if him and Matthews stay healthy and continue to play together. I'm a big fan of him. He did get a lot of criticism last year, but I definitely think he is a top-line contributor at the NHL level. Next up, we have Zach Werenski, who in my opinion is one of the best young defenders in the NHL. I'm going to put him as a top line contributor. He kind of gets overshadowed because he does play with Seth Jones, who is obviously an absolute monster on the blue line, but I'm a big fan of Zach Werenski's game. I think ever since coming in as a rookie, he has been fantastic for that Columbus team. Last year wasn't the greatest year for him. He did put up solid offensive numbers, but his two-way game definitely took a dip since the 2017-18 season, but he is off to a pretty solid start this year. I like him a lot, and I definitely think, kind of comparing him and Rasmus Dahlin, that Zach Werenski is like, or not Rasmus Dahlin, Rasmus Ristolainen, sorry, I caught myself there, but I definitely think Zach Werenski is like a level above Ristolainen. Next up, we have Alexander Nylander, so like his brother, both number 8 overall picks, and I'm going to put him at too soon to judge. If he was still in the Buffalo Sabres and again didn't make that NHL team and then was in the American Hockey League again, maybe you could have put him at disappointing or even flat out bust, but I still think it is too soon to say that for him. Obviously, since being traded to the Blackhawks, he has 2 goals this NHL season, I believe. He started out the season on a top line with Taves and Kane. Things definitely have changed up since then, but I still think throughout the majority of this NHL season, Alex Nylander is going to be put in a position to succeed with the Blackhawks. Next up, we have another Buffalo draft pick, Casey Mittelstadt. He's another guy I'm going to put at too soon to judge. He is heading into his second full NHL season, and honestly, for him, it's just a matter of getting his confidence because he's a very, very skilled player, and there was a lot of hype surrounding him heading into last NHL season. Didn't really live up to that, didn't really have the greatest rookie campaign, but he's off to a pretty solid start this year, and I definitely think he's on pace for like a 50-plus point season and to really establish himself as a very good NHL player. And now, finishing out the video with Adam Boqvist, I'm going to put him at too soon to judge, obviously because he hasn't even played his rookie NHL campaign just yet. He did look very good in the preseason for the Chicago Blackhawks. I remember watching a Red Wings Blackhawks preseason game, and every time he touched the puck, I was holding my breath because it looked like he was going to do something fantastic. Unfortunately, didn't make the Blackhawks this year, but they don't want to rush him into things, but it definitely looks like the Blackhawks have an absolute gem in Adam Boqvist. So this is what I have everything at right now. I'm going to go back and revise it, see if I want to make any changes, and I'll be right back with you guys. So after looking over things, I think I'm going to keep it like this. I believe this is the most we've ever had in this flat out bust tier, and obviously as the picks get later and later, less guys pan out and really become players that they were drafted to be, so that is to be expected, but in just a couple more episodes of this, we will be on the number 1 overall pick, so that definitely should be a fun video to make. So again, I will link this down below in the description so you guys can do it as well, and let me know if you agree with this, or who would you put where, what players do you think I messed up on, all that. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section below. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Before recording this, I posted on the community tab that I will be doing an NHL deal or no deal tomorrow, so go look for that post, comment your mock trade on it for a chance to be featured in tomorrow's video, and thank you guys so much for all the support on the channel lately. I really do appreciate it, and make sure to drop a like on today's video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys on the next video.